Hello and welcome. I'm Julie Selby with Sandy Social Marketing. Welcome to the Wonderful Women Business Networking Show. And I also have...
Hi everyone, Deb Alcadinho with Business for Social Good.
Thank you for joining us again today. The Wonderful Women Business Networking Show is about shining the light on wonderful professional women, women business owners, and helping to promote their products, services, passions, and projects. And we have quite a wonderful and inspiring passion project that we're going to tell you about today. So grab your box of Kleenex and prepare to be inspired. And may I start, Deb? I'm going to start with our territorial acknowledgement.
Yes, please.
And I acknowledge and show my gratitude for living and working on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations. And because Deb is my wonderful co-host, Deb is actually part of this exciting project. I'm going to let you take it from here.
Oh gosh, thank you. Well, we're super excited today to have three authors on the line, myself and Susan Isaac and Charmaine Hammond. And we are co-authors in a collaborative book with 44 other amazing, magnificent women who are sharing our voices at this important time in this era, to share our voices for messages that need to be heard, so that other women can see themselves in our stories, our collective stories, and maybe feel that they're not alone. And so the book, as I said, is a collaborative publication.
So how many authors are in the book?
45. So myself and 44 others.
So a collection of short stories, and they're so easy to read too.
Yes, 1,000 words. Everybody's is around 1,000 words. And it's they're all different. They're all sharing a different story, a different perspective. Some of them are life's journeys. Others are life's lessons. And many of us are sharing that glimpse into our life or our journey or our perspective, and then tying that into what we do today. As such as Charmaine and Susan have done today. So sharing that message and kind of linking it to what our businesses are today. So, and super excited to share that book launch was on the 23rd. No, hang on. What day is it today?
22nd?
22nd.
It was yesterday, no? Yesterday?
Today's
the 23rd.
Today's the 23rd. It was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Oh my gosh, I'm so mixed up.
Losing track of time.
I'm losing track of time. And on book launch day, we put it out there to the world. And by midday, we had already reached Amazon #1 bestseller in Canada, and we topped the bestseller list in the UK and Australia and England as well. So we are just super thrilled that our co-author
and might I add, only in several categories, and also only behind like Michelle Obama's new book and Pamela Anderson.
That's right. Exactly. We're in such good company.
So you're in very good company as well.
Oh my gosh, and I didn't say the name of the book. So the name of the book
and tell us briefly about how the book came to be and the inspiring woman who leads that.
Yes. So the book is entitled Voices of the 21st Century. By 𝗹𝘀𝘁 Publishing, and each year the book has a different subtitle. So this year it's Voices of the 21st Century, Women Transforming the World. So when I heard that book title, I'm like, hell yeah, I gotta be in that book.
Want in on that.
And then I phoned Susan Isaac and I'm like, girl, you got a message. You have to be in this book. So as she will say, it's all Deb's fault I'm in the book. She'll tell that story. But,
yes, indeed. And tell us briefly about Gail, who is the organizer of this whole inspiring project.
So Gail Watson is the brainchild behind this book. and she is the president of Women Speakers Association. And WSA Publishing is an extension of that organization. And as Gail will say, and I think Charmaine might have a better perspective on this as well, but I believe Gail, this stemmed from 6 years ago when Gail was working, well, more than 6 years ago now, working with her son on a school project. And it was stemming from, the project was all around women and women's voices. And Gail realized that there wasn't a vehicle for women's voices to be heard in this way, and their stories needed to be told. And so Charmaine could probably give you some more backstory on that than what I have, because she's known Gail and worked on the books for a number of years. Charmaine is very instrumental in seeing these books come to life and working with the authors. So
yeah, and we will bring our guests on in just a quick moment, but I just want to say, I think it's such a brilliant concept because it allows all these women authors to get in on a book, to be able to call themselves a best-selling author in this collaborative, amazing collaborative project, to be inspired by one another, but also from the marketing perspective to have you know, Gail plus 45 women, or however many total it is,
blasting it out there,
all be promoting this book to their network. So of course, all of our friends are going to read it, which means they're going to read your story, but they're going to read also the stories of the other women in the book. So of course, I know several of these inspiring women in the book, which I loved reading your stories, but I also really appreciated getting to know other women leaders like you. And now that's made me want to follow some of these great gals on social media as well and learn from them and stay in touch. So I think the whole concept is brilliant.
Totally. I think we should each share a little blurb about our chapters and maybe one takeaway.
Yes,
so why don't I
so
kick it off?
Shall we bring our guests on with us, and then we can, would that be okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, sounds great. And normally we'll bring one guest on at a time on the show, but in this case, we're going to go ahead and bring on both of our special guests today, who are also fellow authors on the show. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
We're thrilled to have you join us today. Shall we have them very briefly introduce themselves, Deb, and then we can go into each gal. So Charmaine, may I invite you to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, it's so great to be here. Three amazing women here. My company, I have two companies, but 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗪 works with a lot of authors, and we help authors bring their stories and books to life. I've known Gail Watson. You were good gossiping about Gail. I've been a member of WSA as a professional speaker for many years, which is how I met Gail, and then became more and more involved in this collaborative organization, and then fell in love with the books. And 5 books later, I've been in 5 of them now.
Have you really?
I know. It's just so, I was looking the other day at my bookshelf, and they just feel so good. Like when you get your book, Susan, it's just like got new book feel. And same for you, Deb. You're going to love it. Julie, you said something that was really, I thought, really touched my heart. And you talked about the collection of stories and how each one is so different. I think that's what I love the most about the book, is that it reminds us that all of us get through things, all of us experience life in a different way. And yet there's so many stories about challenge and overcoming some kind of challenge or difficulty in your life and coming through it on the other side, and these deep learnings that people have. And that's what really attracts me to this book and to the authors. And honestly, as someone who works with collaboration, that's what our business 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗪 focuses on, collaboration and sponsorship. Watching 45 women come together with one sole purpose and just be champions for one another, it just is incredible to witness. It really, really is.
So also soul, SOUL, like soul purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And your middle name is Collaboration, my friend.
Totally. Well, it's a big part of my life. Big part of my life.
So you have 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗪, where you help teach people how to use collaboration and sponsorship to support their dreams, whether it be business or personal. And what is your other company?
My other company is Hammond International. That's been around almost 30 years now. I opened it up in 1997. And that company, in that one, we provide training and facilitation and coaching development on topics of conflict resolution, which is what my background is. I started my career as a jail guard and then became a corporate mediator.
Amazing.
I know. And those of you who don't know me, I'm literally 4'11 3/4. That 3/4 is very, very important.
I was going to say that.
And so that's how I got interested in dispute resolution. And so for 30 years almost, I've been teaching companies and organizations and associations how to respectfully and effectively address those tough conversations that are often messy and challenging and stressful. And that's what I do in that part of the world.
So you work with individuals and organizations globally, and you do speaking, training, etc.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Do you
right.
do in-person training, or is it primarily
I love in-person
virtual?
training. Most of my training has always been, I would say 80% of it over the last many years has been in person, even back in the day of the teleseminars. Do you remember those before Zoom? So I've always been doing virtual of some platform, but 80% of the work I do is typically in person, which I just love.
Wow, amazing, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing a bit about your business. Deb, shall we invite Susan to share a bit about her business now, and then we'll go into some briefly sharing a bit about your stories.
Welcome, Susan.
Please. Welcome. Yes, please introduce yourself. Now, most of you, if you're a regular watcher of the show, you know that Susan is not only a big supporter of the show, but she is a recurring guest as well as recurring co-host. So we are so grateful for you, Susan. Please tell us about you and your business.
Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be part of, not just come back on the show. And anytime Deb goes to Portugal, I'm your gal. I'm your host.
So grateful.
Yeah. It was fun, but we did miss Deb. But I'm a first-time author, and I have to tell you, Charmaine hasn't said the whole story. As part of being one of the 45 authors, she's also been providing training for all of us. And you know, one of the things that I signed up for when I decided after Deb talked me into and pushed me to do this.
You're going to do this book with me.
Yeah, that I was promised that Charmaine Hammond would also be with us even post-book, and that she would be guiding us forever.
You can't get rid of me. I know. Sorry,
going to our hip from now on. And I had benefited from 2 other women's retreats where Charmaine had been a guest speaker at both of those women's retreats. And I said, what? Charmaine forever? I'm in. So you know, she is an amazing trainer and helping people to know that you're never alone. And this concept of sponsorship is so powerful, Charmaine. So thank you for being with all of us and continuing to guide us. It's really, I really appreciate it, especially with me being a first time telling my story of why I even do what I do with my art and developing an art business. I've done it from the stage and podcasts, including live podcasts. I don't mind getting on stage and putting a microphone on and talking, but to actually write it down and have it at a professional level for publishing in Amazon quarters was something that I was really terrified to do. So I was talking about my scary story to becoming an artist while I was terrified about writing. So it's kind of a parallel scary story that was happening at the time. Anyway, I did it, and I did it with Charmaine's help, and Deb was my writing buddy. And I basically had 6 people help me write my 1,000 words.
Takes a village, sweetheart.
It takes a village.
It does.
Very cool.
And but I did it. And now I'm getting invited to go on podcasts and be interviewed about my story. So what I have learned is my focus has been my art and my design and uplifting women with the concept of butterfly, because my entire design series is the You Can Fly series based on transformation.
So
But
for
now
those who may not have seen Susan on the show in the past, she is a glass artist. She has a designer. She has her own glass art studio in Souk, where she offers in-person workshops, whether you live in the area or whether you're visiting the area as a tourist. She can arrange private workshops for you. She is an award-winning artist. She has had her work in various shows and won many awards. And she designed a specific series of butterfly wing pendants that symbolize transformation and change. And I'll be quiet now and back to you, Susan.
Yeah. Well, it's just I've discovered that part of my business now, and Charmaine, this is, she needs to hear this, that I now realize that another part of my business is talking about it's never too late to find the real you, that your zone of genius, as 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗿𝗀𝗪 says. And and the fact that my 70th birthday was on launch day, I'm finding out that being a senior and talking about what I'm doing as a new person in an art business, art's not new to me, but the art business part is, that now I can go talk on senior podcast shows about my story.
All right, you're already making me tear up, Susan. Where's my tissue?
I
knew I was going to need a tissue. I warned you. Okay,
I'm still trying to integrate that concept since Tuesday, because the invites are coming in. Why don't you come on this? I didn't know there were all these senior podcasts. Not a clue.
Podcasts are huge, and there's lots of them. How exciting! So with
great.
that, Deb, I'm going to take it back to Deb, because I would like you to share a little bit about your story with us, Deb.
Yes, thank you. So as we said, we each had a chapter. So my chapter title is called Soul Lights Shining Brightly. So I give a little bit of a glimpse into my life's journey. And by reframing the difficult times in my life, I was able to survive and thrive and find my purpose, which is to use my voice, my vision and heart to make a difference, to make an impact on humanity, and really help others to do the same. So I think one of the big takeaways from my chapter is just by learning and living into our true purpose, we can tackle some of the greatest challenges of our time and change the world. And that's what I'm on a mission to do: change the world and help others to do the same.
And so it gives a little insight into why Deb has chosen human trafficking as her cause, particularly human trafficking in Canada. And we watched recently a very powerful film, Deb. You want to speak briefly about that?
Yes. So one of the things that I teach my clients is how to connect with the cause that they're passionate about. So it's fine to have a business. That's wonderful. That's amazing. But what social good can you do with your business? And what is that cause that you are impassioned to work towards solving? And so my cause is to end violence against women and girls. And specifically, the part of the problem that I'm focusing on is human and sex trafficking. So I'm really being a vessel, a voice to spread the word about this really awful issue that exists in Canada. And it's not something that is just, on the other side of the world that happens in other countries. It is incredibly prevalent in Canada.
I was shocked. It's shocking. Yeah.
Less than a kilometer from where any of us live, somebody is being trafficked. A girl, a boy, a man, a woman.
I basically told my sister we're never leaving my 9-year-old niece alone again, like ever.
There's certainly a lot of education that needs to go into it. So so I sponsored a film Monday night, which was a fundraiser for 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗿𝘀𝗪. And it was a film professionally produced by a Jane Monk, who had experienced violence, and in her own healing journey, she wanted to interview other women who had escaped sex trafficking. And it was an incredibly powerful film, with the interviews of these gals who were brave enough to tell their stories. And it's shocking. It's hard information. It's a tough subject.
Inspiring as well.
yeah, like
Their
as
resilience. Their
as
resilience and strength was just an
totally,
absolute inspiration, though it is a
totally,
heavy subject
it
matter.
is.
Yeah,
It is. But like all heavy subject matters, we need to be informed, right? We're
indeed.
aunties, we're mamas, we're grandmas, we're,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Even if even if we don't have children associated with us, we could save
Mhm.
the life of someone that we don't even know just by being an advocate and sharing the message that it exists in Canada,
And
right?
teaching the
Mhm.
children when age appropriate to do so what it looks like so that they are
Yeah.
aware,
And it starts
right?
at 9, like literally, right? So just one resource I want to share, and then we must move on to our guest, is um, there is an organization in Canada called the 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗁 Foundation.
Mhm.
They're based out of Winnipeg, but they have a global reach, and
Mhm.
they have created the National Human Trafficking Education Center. And it's an online portal that has most of it free programming for it's video training for parents, for caregivers, for law
And for youth as
enforcement,
well.
for social, yes, for
Yeah,
youth as
yeah.
well. So I really encourage everyone to get educated, be informed about this subject that involves so much of the youth of our time in
If you
being
have
on
any
the
young
move.
people in your life, it's important to
Yeah,
know
Mhm.
about this. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We will be
Hotspot sign.
sharing the links to, of course, Deb's website so you can learn more about her consulting services and courses, but also about the 𝗧𝗵𝘂𝗁 Foundation. So we'll share that information if you want to be able to access those resources.
Beautiful.
And with
Awesome.
that, I want to take it back to Charmaine. Please,
Yes,
Charmaine,
please.
tell us a little bit about your story. And your story, now you're saying this is your fifth story. So this one was more of a story of the power of connection and how we
Yeah.
can impact others with our example. Please share.
Yes. My story is called How You Show Up Matters. And a lot of times when I speak to people, they think they have to make a difference in the world. They think they have to have a lot of time or a lot of money or a big social media following or hold a certain stature in their community. And I started my chapter off with a quote from an individual that I deeply respect who has an incredible business model. It's Matt Moreau from the Earth Group. And when I first met Matt, he asked me this question. He said, Charmaine, if you could change the world, would you? And I remember
Oh, all right.
thinking, oh my
I
gosh,
kissed you
that's
again.
an amazing question.
Yeah.
And I had an emotional response like you just did, Julie, to that question. And I could not shake it. I could not get it out of my head. And then I started to look at, how does transformation happen? And I had a couple of really good examples. So in the story, I share one of the exercises I did a number of years ago. Now, I think it's about 8 or 9 years ago. I noticed that some of my mentors were aging very quickly, people who were teachers in school, and some of them had passed. And my grade 1 teacher, for example, and I really wanted to thank her as an adult for how being in her class in grade 1 had absolutely shaped the person I am today. And so I went on this journey and I wrote all of these people, my Highland dance teacher, my
Oh my
grade 9
gosh.
English teacher, who I've just reconnected with, and we got to hang out as adults. She's still as cool now as she was back then.
Wow.
All these people
Awesome.
that impacted my life, and I wrote a letter to them, and then I wrote it in my story. So I kind of share that in the story about how it impacted me. And then the second example I shared was when I worked in the young offender system. We did this exercise with some of the kids that were in our care, and they basically had to come up with an acronym for their name, and everybody got to contribute. Well, he was 10 at the time, and he came and found me when he was in his 20s, and he wanted me to know that he was okay. And he opened his wallet, and he was walking around for those many years of his life with that little exercise that we did that I never gave any thought to. And I thought, that's how we transform the world, by how we show up. How we show up as a human, that's what does it. We don't need to have money or influence. We just need to be us.
Be your beautiful, loving self and be a positive example for others.
Exactly.
What two beautiful examples, Charmaine.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And
Wow.
Charmaine is a living, breathing example of this. Do you know that Charmaine has more recommendations on her LinkedIn profile than any person I've ever seen? And you know why Charmaine has a lot of recommendations on her profile? Because she gives even more recommendations. She makes it a regular part of her practice to appreciate people, whether it's thanking them in a written note, which is such a joy to receive these days because everything's digital, or whether it's a recommendation on someone's profile. And she has a gift for speaking positive words that really uplift others.
Thank you.
Beautifully well said, Julie. And with that,
Yes.
Susan, please share with us about your chapter, please.
Please.
Yeah. Well, I decided to write about why I didn't start to do any art until 47. And I had certainly danced in dance and coloring and painting. And the last thing I remember is in grade 5, painting the life stages of a bee in poster paints for my grade 5 teacher. And that was in my mind when I got the messages about you'll never be an artist, you can't make a living as an artist, you need to get serious about school, get serious about life. As I
This was the adults in your life, right?
It was the my family and school and society. And a lot of kids rebel, but I was one of the kids that listened. And I listened to outside voices to shape who I was supposed to be. And I put all that away until until the pilot light was getting quite dim. And I don't regret becoming an academic and a teacher and going to my height and zone of excellence, but that art part was dying, and I, with this loving support of my husband and family and friends, I took the leap, and I actually gave up my license to practice dental hygiene at that time, which, by the way, don't do because I did get it back and it was hard. And, so I did open Shard's Glass Studio. I took my husband and I took fused glass workshops in Kauai, actually, and I was terrified. And it took me 2 years to own that I was an artist. So I talk more about that story. And I actually went into the corporate world for another 12 years after I had started the art. And then that's when I came back from a corporate burnout and 10 years ago. And that's when butterflies came to me and the You Can Fly series was birthed.
And you accepted the fact that you were an artist. That was in your heart's desire.
Exactly.
And it needed to be.
Yes. And it was all about, so one of my takeaways is people loving you until you love yourself and you believe in yourself. And that was something I always did for my students. I was a dental hygiene teacher for decades. And that was, like Charmaine said, just be who you are. And I just believed in second chances, and I'll love you till you love yourself and you believe that you're going to be an amazing hygienist. And I just went along and I got that kind of love and support to believe that I really was an artist. And I tell in my story how that aha moment occurred in my studio about how butterflies came to me and the process of believing and getting rid of the imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. Other people are artists. I'm not. I can't do this. And many, many late nights, and I shredded every fingertip. I can barely touch a tablet, and it works because I have calluses on all the tips of my fingertips from glasswork. And it just goes from there. So one of the take-homes is about being loved until you love yourself and believe in yourself.
It's so relatable because as women, we are so nurturing of others and uplifting of others, and we don't always do that same courtesy for ourselves, right?
Yeah. And the other piece that I talk about, so that's where Firing the Imposter, which is the title of my chapter, came from. It was
Firing from glass art and literally firing the imposter as well. I love it. Yeah,
because
great title.
I own very big kilns, and what I do can kill me in a heartbeat. And
Plays with fire.
the goddess of fire is quite unrelenting in terms of I pay homage to the goddess of fire. I would never dream of walking in my studio without saying hello, everyone, which is the goddess of fire, and
May I just
all the little
interject that
running around in my studio. It's very crowded in there. So I go in and you pay respect and you stay mindful, because if you don't stay mindful, you will get hurt, and badly.
Yeah.
So there's a very dangerous aspect to what I do, but the biggest danger and perilous journey has been from my head to my heart as an adult, and talking about how that journey and where I came into wholeness and how that happened. And the other part of that journey, and that actually speaks to what Charmaine said about just being yourself, is just being in my passion and owning that I'm an artist now, and coming into that fullness of managing the imposter syndrome so much better now. It's not about thinking, oh, and I'll have an impact on, how can I have an impact on the world? For me, the impact has come from staying in my passion, staying in my art, staying in my commitment to uplift women, with the whole concept of one-of-a-kind design work means I'm honoring and reflecting the one-of-a-kind aspect of the human and women, and helping to celebrate their transformation with the symbol of the butterfly and all the design work I do. And learning for me was just be passionate about follow your heart. And I get the messages back from the world as to the impact that what I do and what I believe about women is comes back to me. And the story, very briefly, you'll hear more about it in my book, is about a customer saying that she gifted one of my smaller butterfly bits of bling to the president of the Lithuania university. And that was shortly after the Ukraine war began. And what happened is the Ukraine students became homeless overnight, and they couldn't go home after graduation. And she was helping the Ukraine students to find a life in Lithuania. And she messaged me and she said, thank you for creating one-of-a-kind gifts, because they all have names, they all have stories. And
all of your pendants.
All of my pendants and my scarves and design work, they all have names, and they come from emotional collections like Hope and Courage and Joy and Play.
Your work is beautiful.
She chose a piece from the Hope collection to help her friend in Lithuania. And she said, thank you for providing gifts, such an emotional gift that I could give to a friend in need. And that's the impact that I was having without trying to have an impact. And so that's my second takeaway. Just be yourself, as Charmaine has been, and the impact that you have, if you come from the heart, you don't need to be concerned about the impact.
Beautiful.
You all inspire me. Oh, I'm going to go have a good cry now. Go read your stories again and have a good cry again. So yeah, it's like therapy reading this book, friends. So I highly recommend that you get a copy of it. We will, of course, be sharing all of the links from these wonderful women in the caption, the show notes for this broadcast show. And I encourage you to reach out to them. I encourage you to get a copy of the book. You can get it on Kindle, or in the future, you will be able to order a paper copy. I think the paper copy is not available quite yet, but I know that follows. And so any final thoughts, Deb, that you want to share?
Just on the subject of the book itself, we each will have print copies in our own bookstores, from that we can lovingly sign to purchasers. So if anyone has the Kindle version and they would love a print version from either Susan or Charmaine or myself or any other authors that our audience might know, that will be coming in the future for sure. I think there will be a print version available on, actually, Charmaine, will there? be a print version through
I think
Amazon?
I think it's the Kindle that stays on Amazon, and then all of the authors will have their own
print
customized with their name on the cover right beside Gail, and
Cool.
nothing
That's
like
so
signing your
cool.
book when they arrive.
Yeah.
Getting those Sharpie markers.
Yes.
How savvy is that whole concept you developed with that Gail's come up with?
They're
I mean,
very
how cool is
smart,
that?
yeah. So our own covers will have our name, and on the back of the book, it'll have our picture and our biography. And just
Cool.
as a last little note before we sign off, is that we are planning a Vancouver Island event. So more information to come on that with Susan and myself. And Charmaine is going to come out from Ontario and be with us for that.
Wow.
So more
Super
information to come on a date for that. And we may even bring in some past authors from previous years. So we're just refining what that might look like. And then you would get to see us in person, and we can sign your individual book copies. So yes, it should be lots of fun.
It will. Deb, Deb organizes a fantastic event. So stay in touch with these wonderful women to find out more about the. Yes, indeed. And gosh, it's going to be so inspiring. And if you happen to have a show or a podcast, or you're looking for an inspiring woman speaker, I would recommend you reach out to any of these wonderful women on the show today. And thank you so much for watching. I'm
Whoops, you froze there on us, Julie. I'm not sure if it just froze for me.
This has been the wonderful Women Business Networking Show. We meet twice a month now, so mark your calendar for the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. We'd love for you to join us live. Of course, you're welcome to watch the replay or any of the past replays if you want to feel inspired. And we thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you.